Thank you. Now I'd like to welcome the District Attorney's Office.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. To be honest with you, I'm just terribly sorry to have to be here. This is an event, this kind of senseless violence really should never happen, but we know it does, and it did in this case. We have in the District Attorney's Office a group of attorneys who are very experienced in handling homicide cases as well as investigators. And that group is called the Homicide Panel. And so when this case happened, we didn't have to dispatch an attorney to the scene. We already had one on the way as soon as we started getting information that there had been a homicide in Seal Beach. Scott Simmons here who's a very experienced trial attorney on the Homicide Panel, just immediately started on the way. And he stayed in contact with our office constantly as things developed, even including the understanding that in a case like this, as you see it, when you see it develop, it becomes clear that with all of the devastation that occurred, all the witnesses, all of the evidence, it starts getting pretty clear that there's a likelihood that this might go by way of an insanity plea. So we were even thinking about that at the very initial stages and doing what we could to try to counter that kind of thing as it comes forward. So it's not going to come as a surprise if and when we hear that defense. So we're going to do the very best job we can. Scott Simmons, as I said, is a very fine, very experienced attorney with a lot of homicide trials under his belt. The supervisor of the Homicide Panel, Dan Wagner, is going to be on this case too. And the reason I wanted to put him on the case is well, for one thing, he's also a very fine and experienced trial attorney. He's been handling trials and cases for quite a long time, but he also has substantial experience with the defenses that involve mental defenses and insanity defenses and that sort of thing. And he's been handling the hearings on the Alloway case for us. That's the case in Fullerton where a number of people were killed at Fullerton College several years ago, and Alloway at that time was found to be insane, and he's been in custody at the state mental institutions since then, and we've been having hearings to keep him in. Dan Wagner's been handling those hearings, so he's very, very aware of those issues and how they come up and how they're attempted to be described and so forth. So, like I say, we'll have as good a team handling this case as I think can be put on. I don't think this team will be second to any team anywhere in the nation. So I'm very well satisfied that we'll do a good job in handling this case, and we'll do everything that we can to bring justice. And that's, like I say, knowing that we can't put things back, but this is an important process, and we will handle it the best, as good as probably anybody can. So we'll be here to answer questions as they might come up, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. District Attorney. Now is the time for your questions and comments. Please come forward to the microphone. This will help everyone to hear your question. Please state your name. Please be specific to whom you are addressing the question. To all who may desire to speak, We want to offer that opportunity, so please do the best you can to limit your comments to 1 to 2 minutes. So the microphone here is now open if you have any questions for our panel.
And I do have a question, but I'd written a letter to the Register, which was published, and it has to do with the question. It says, as it turns out, in just about every one of these bizarre, brutal acts of violence, Scott Dekraai was in the hands of a psychiatrist and on psychiatric drugs. The second deadliest Orange County mass murder, according to the newspaper, and Mr. Dukakis, Edward Alloway had a long history of psychiatric treatment before he killed 7 people, Cal State Fullerton. There are hundreds of these treated by psychiatrists in between, including the man who killed innocent shoppers with a sword in Irvine and Eric Harris in Columbine. Psychiatrists know that these drugs cause a certain number of people to become violent. There's a list on the National Institute of Mental Health website, including irritability, aggressiveness, violent behavior, acting without thinking, extreme increase in activity or talking, sudden or unusual changes in behavior, and even suicide. So if Conrad Murray can be prosecuted for Michael Jackson's death due to misapplication of prescription drugs, it is time to prosecute the psychiatrists behind these mass murderers. And my question is, so we knew, it was known immediately that he was seeing a psychiatrist. I mean, what did the psychiatrist know? What was he telling the psychiatrist? And the psychiatrist letting him go out into society and prescribing these drugs. Will we investigate the psychiatrist?
We're going to investigate every aspect of this case, and I'm sure that by the time this thing gets ready to go to trial, there will be no stone left unturned. So I can assure that we'll be taking a look at everything.
All right. Yeah, I have some DVDs, and this was actually published about 6 years ago. It's called Psychiatry and Industry of Death. And this is it's a known fact. This is no secret. The psychiatrists know that just about every one of these bizarre, senseless acts of violence, the person is on these drugs. And anybody who'd like a copy, I do have plenty of them. If somebody would like one afterwards. I know people want answers, and there's no easy answer, but this is part of the answer. So as far as the insanity plea, it shouldn't even exist. The person did the crime. They need to be fully prosecuted for the crime. Thank you.
Thank you.